for me, it was always about the work. I really, I really loved it. And I wish I could have done it more, but I didn't.
How long have you been in Los Angeles?
22 years.
And in a couple of months, a month?
A couple months, I'm leaving forever. Not by choice, but some family members need some help, and my wife and I are going to be that help, so I'm leaving Los Angeles. The place I've lived the longest, actually, my whole life.
So how does that feel to you? Is it sort of like you're seeing those years flip by in your mind, like on a TV show, like it's...
It is a combination of regret and I think kind of the realization that maybe things not working out for me in the entertainment industry maybe was for the best. Because I think the timing of how, if the success came the way I thought it was going to come at the time that I thought it was going to come, when spec sales were huge and people made money fast, I guess I feel like I've just gone through like the longest training program anybody could ever go through to learn how to do a bunch of shit. I didn't know how to direct or write or act or do stand-up the way I do now from having done it. Sitting down to write a book, having done all these different things, made the writing easier and better and all that stuff because I've been doing it. I wanted to come here and be successful and buy my wife a house. Didn't happen. So when things don't work out the way you want, then you improvise, adapt, and overcome. And that's what I'm gonna do. I'm moving to Albany, New York, which is not a entertainment capital that I know of. But locations will be easier to get. I do have a line on actors. Play shorts is something I can continue doing.
Great.
Graphic novel has, I don't know how many more issues in it. I guess I had a lot of fun. I met a lot of people. Some of it was not fun. But I guess overall, I wouldn't have done it any other way because I had to know what was going to happen.
You said regrets earlier?
Oh, yeah.
What were the regrets?
Oh, God. Too many to number. I guess I should have tolerated some fools more. And yeah, a bunch of stuff.
But aren't you glad that, forgive me, I don't know where you were before you went to Boston? Or if
I was
you were
in
still
Boston, yeah.
Okay, but were you still in, what if you had stayed in upstate New York or gone back, I don't know, what your travel line was, and you worked for a company and they pushed you out the door because they're hiring people from somewhere else or they're closing that plant or something.
Yeah.
So
that essentially happened to the company that I was working for in Boston. I was very lucky that the company I had a day job with in Boston had a company out here. So when I said, I'm moving to Los Angeles, so if you guys want me, that's where I'm gonna be. And they were like, you can work in the other company's office for Boston. So I had a job that I flew with, so that was great. And then they pulled the plug on the company, fired everybody. Well, once I got out here. But what was the question?
So I guess the question is, what if you hadn't come here? Wouldn't you be more regretful for because you're still with your wife?
Oh yeah.
And I'm not trying to get too personal, but I mean, some people don't
Oh yeah, trust
everything
me,
falls apart. You know what I'm saying?
I know people have died, in pursuit of this. Some people died from suicide. Some people died from drugs, overdose. Some people died from lifestyle, you might say. And I guess, what I didn't know, and there's no way you really could know, like I did stuff in Boston and it, was done live. There's no, there's video of it, but most of the time it was theater. It was something that was done for a live audience, and that's what it was meant to do. And then when it was over, it ended, and that was it. It didn't exist anymore, except for in the minds of the people who saw it. I've heard from people who remember the stuff I did in the 90s when I was in Boston, performance art stuff, installation art, and like all that stuff is gone. None of it exists anymore, but they remember it. And if you make a movie and it's successful and a lot of people see it and they'll remember it, sometimes movies become a part of people's lives. They buy the DVD, they watch it on a regular basis. It's something on in the background. It's the movie they go to when they're feeling shitty. That is something I sort of got to experience with Vampire Mob, that, I did have people contact me who said that they, life wasn't great and they were kind of down, and they enjoyed the humor and the characters and the story, and it gave them some place to go for a while. And that's why I feel like, to some degree, storytelling is a service. You are in service of other people. Stories are for other people, and that's who you're creating for. I mean, you could create for yourself, but if they don't see it, then it doesn't exist.
What do you think that you should have tried more of? Or maybe there's nothing?
I changed directions a bunch of times. When things weren't going right, I'm like, when things with acting and stand-up weren't going great, and I was looking at writing, screenwriting, and I hadn't written anything, and I'm like, oh man, do I have a learning curve? And I'm like, I gotta back off everything else, take classes, really focus on screenwriting and learn everything that I can about it. And I've lost the question again.
What do you think that maybe you should have tried more of?
I guess I probably should have, I think I should have kept doing stand-up. I think I should have kept spreading myself out thin the way I was, and finding ways to deal with that chaos, which I enjoyed to some degree. But the more, I met a lot more people doing stand-up, and when you're a writer, you meet less people because you're at home writing. And I was in a few writers groups, and they were always a nightmare. It was almost like competitive notes. Like, oh yeah, you didn't like my screenplay? Wait till I give you notes on yours. It was garbage. I remember one screenplay that this guy wrote, and it had very specific terminology to the X Games, to all these special things you do on a skateboard and a BMX bike and all this stuff. And I'm reading it and I'm like, yeah, I don't know what any of this is. And he's like, well, that's the language that they use. That's the thing. I'm like, yeah, but what does that mean? What do they do? Well, all you have to do is say that and people know what it is. Yeah, but the person at the reading, at the studio, the agent, they're not gonna know this. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm telling you information you don't want to hear. So this isn't feedback, you just want to be told this is good. You don't want to make it better, you just want to, and then when it was time for my screenplay to be read, he just was like anything he could find. And I know what good feedback is and what is not good feedback, and that was revenge feedback.
What advice would you give to someone else leaving Los Angeles?
I wouldn't give them any advice, I guess. Yeah, I kind of, sometimes advice is just someone else's version of the way they think things should work, and it's just another obstacle. Your expectation is being managed by someone else's experience, and their experience isn't necessarily what's going to be your experience. So the advice has no value, because the way I did it, the way you did it is, and that was, I think, one of my problems was that I saw how other people made it, and I was trying to do it the way they did it. I was, okay, so you do this, and then you win a contest, and then you get a manager, and then you go out, take a script out, and then you sell it. And there's a million ways careers happen, and don't make the mistake I did of sort of telling your story. You're like, well, this is gonna happen, then I'm gonna do this, this, and this, and this, and that's the way it's gonna be. And then when it's not, oh, I did something wrong, I guess. I'm the problem, so I got to change the plan. So I'm going to do this, this, and this, and all right, that's not working. I enjoyed less of it. I missed out on a lot because I was working so hard to try to make it.
What did you miss out on?
Oh, birthdays, vacations, seeing the outside world, friendships, a lot. A lot. You can only sit in one chair at a time.
What does success look like to you?
I don't know anymore, actually. That is a good question. Nothing to do with the entertainment industry.
Yeah. Well, you'll still be able to make stories.
Oh, yeah.
And now you might have a pool of people that
sure.
aren't going to be, there's going to be access to talent up there as well.
Yeah.
And maybe something new will come from it. And it'll be a new definition of, because I think being here, we're so clouded by not the middle class version of success.
Oh, yeah.
But this like astronomical thing that I don't even know if those people are happy. We don't know that. We don't know if that's...
I have met a lot of people who were wealthy and successful and miserable. I remember talking to somebody they were working on a basic cable show and a network show at the same time. And they were complaining that the basic cable show didn't send a driver, and the network show did. It was, why doesn't the basic cable show send a driver? And it was just like, I'm in the back of my mind going, you know how many fucking people would like to have that fucking problem? Not having the basic cable show send a driver? Oh, you have to drive yourself to your job that you get? Poor you. You're breaking my heart. It's like listening to people who, like social media experts who complain about traveling. They're like, oh my God, it's so hard to travel from conference to conference and miss flights and all the rest of it. Really? Get up on a roof and do some roofing in August in Los Angeles. Get the smell of tar up in your nose and then tell me how hard it is again to sit in an airport. Really? Is it really that hard to sit in an airport? Sorry. Sorry you have to sit so long. Sorry that's such hard work for you. Sorry you're not at the hotel where you're supposed to be at the right time. Again, get on a fucking roof in fucking August with the smell of tar in your nose and tell me again how hard it is that you work. Writing's not hard. None of this shit is hard. None of this shit is roofing in August in Los Angeles. Anytime you think you're working hard, think, oh, well, you know what? I'm not on a roof in 95 degrees with tar up my nose. That's hard work. All the rest of this, you know, I worked hard, but I didn't do roofing for the last 22 years. You know, I was indoors. It was not hard work. I've seen hard work. I've been around hard work. I've done hard work. None of this shit is hard work. Hard work is a bunch of 18-hour days on set, day after day after day. That is hard work. Hard work, gaffers do hard work, electricians do hard work, carpenters do hard work. Actors, less so. Directors, less so. That's why I never wanted to be a Video Village director. I never wanted to be the guy sitting looking at fucking monitors and barking shit from a chair. I wanted to be holding a camera, and I wanted to be right in there with the actors, because that's where it is happening. And if I didn't know how to run a camera, then I couldn't have done that. So I learned how to run a camera so I could do that. And I'm a better director because I run camera, because I'm there. I'm with the actor. The actor's looking at me, the director, who's operating the camera that's pointing at them. Completely different experience than the guy over in the corner who's barking stuff back or gets up, walks over, says something, walks back. I just yell, cut, good, anything? Mm-hmm. All right, again, go. I can shoot 10 pages in 4 hours, door to door, in and out. Done it every time. Every episode of Play Shorts was 4 hours. Rehearse the actors for 2 hours a week before, bring them in. We walk into Nick's at 4 o'clock. We set up lights, we eat dinner, we shoot, we close it up. 9:30, we're gone. 4 or 5 hours, all you need. Don't need an 18-hour day, and you don't need a giant crew.
Any thoughts on friendships in LA, partnerships?
Friendships in LA are, sometimes friendships are based on projects. There's a lot of project friendships. Like you work on a project and everybody's friends and you can know each other forever, and then the project ends and you never see each other again. That's pretty common. And then you're right, it's like coworker friendships. It's that kind of thing. I think it is harder to have, or at least it was, I found it harder to have more meaningful friendships just at the pace of everything that was going, and everyone's so worried about their career and who's got what and who's doing what and the next thing, that it didn't allow for a lot of deeper friendships, I felt. But some of that's me, so, and some of that's LA.
So is it about the work?
For me, it was always about the work. I really, I really loved it. And I wish I could have done it more, but I didn't.
What's the thing you're most proud of?
The thing I'm most proud of? Nothing that's on screen. I don't think I think I'm more proud of what I knew that I got through it, I guess. Not any specific work, it's sort of all of it. All those classes, and workshops, and writers groups, and meetings, and lit managers, and contests. Oh, Christ. I could have made a lot more money doing something else, but it wasn't. I moved out of here for the money because I was doing, the nonprofit art thing in Boston, and there's something about there's something about making art when you know it's not going to make you any money. That is different. When, you know, I mean, people, oh, I paint and I put it up in a gallery and people pay me thousands of dollars. Yeah, most painters don't have that. Most painters they got a lot of paintings and that haven't sold. And I think when I did an installation that had 27 TVs in it, and things were run by motion detectors, and there were VCRs and slide projectors, and took up a giant room, and it took me 50 hours to put it up, and I had help, and I was in that gallery for a week and almost slept on the floor one night. I was there so long, and I knew I wasn't gonna make a dime from it. Knew it cost me money to do it, knew I wasn't gonna make a dime, but I had to do it. I had to make it. It was the first thing I ever made. It was huge. And I showed it once. I never showed it again. And that thing changed everything. If I didn't do that thing, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you right now. Because I know the dominoes that went over because of that one thing I made. So when you make something that is for commerce, that is the goal, commerce is the goal, and it doesn't sell, then it's not a success. And it's a business. That is, people don't get paid if you don't make money. Art is, you know, I got grants. I got, you know, I worked at day jobs to pay for all the stuff so I could have the time to make the art. And the reward was seeing people go through it, hearing from people afterwards, like that was enough. And when I started doing stand-up and performance art and doing a little bit of touring with with 2 different shows, that's when, you know, things got to get paid for. You know, I got to pay for all this stuff. So this has to make at least this much money to pay for this much stuff. And if I'm going to get paid, it's got to be above these costs. When you're out here in Los Angeles in the entertainment industry, you're not making anything that is not made for money. That is the goal. It's a business. You're not making art. You're making commerce. You're making product. And yes, there's some creativity in it, but if nobody wants it, nobody cares. Wow, you've written a great screenplay that no one will ever make, that no one wants. There's lots of people who have done, definitely done a couple of those. But, so the value of it is, like, screenplays are not to be read, they're maps for movies. If they're not made into movies, then then they don't exist. They're nothing. There isn't screenplays literature. There's not people sitting around, hey, we read a good screenplay yesterday. It's so good. Nobody does that. It's ridiculous. But I think the thing with the internet neighbors who have a response to my work is similar to seeing human beings have a response to my work in a gallery. And I started as a photographer, so it was just a picture on a wall or in front of them or in a newspaper or magazine. And then when it was installation, I surrounded the viewer. Sound, light, images, physical objects, a structure that changed the space. And then I started doing performance art because the same thing, I could control, they were sitting there, I was sitting here, and I could create something that it could happen together. And you would experience it your way, and we're all here together. This is what's happening. And yeah, you paid a ticket to get in here, but it's barely going to cover the cost of doing this fucking show. That is very similar to when I make shorts and I put them online and I hear from people who saw them. It's the value is the experience that you're creating for someone else in whatever media. So, stand-up comedy, your job is to make people laugh. So that's your job. If you're telling somebody a story, it's a funny story, not a funny story, it has to keep them amused and engaged and interested. And when it's art, I think you don't think exactly the same way. I think it is a little more of the I'm making art and you're gonna see it, and the relationships, I think, different a little bit.
Yeah. Just thinking of like Cindy Sherman,
Yeah.
and whether, I know she got a lot of criticism for some of the work that she did, but I just found her so fascinating. And
yeah.
Just
especially the time in history that she was doing her work compared to now when everyone's taking selfies left and right.
Right.
Such a weird, and also just the reality that people are more comfortable in front of lenses. There's going to be entire generations now that have no problem being in front of the camera.
Or just living for life in front of the camera, not even being able to enjoy an event.
Yes.
Having to document it.
Yep.
Selfie museums, and that's all cool, that's great.
Sure.
But at some point, you're not really in reality, though.
Right.
People are going to movies and they're texting during the movie.
Yeah.
Why would you pay for a ticket? Is it for the air conditioning and somewhere to sit?
Right. And that's what makes going to the movies unattractive to people. Like, it has to be Marvel, it has to be loud and action, so everyone's attention is on the screen and not on the other screen they have in their pocket. And if the movie's not good enough to keep your attention from texting, then maybe it's the movie.
Or maybe we need more, it's like a drug. And so it's not enough to just have good dialogue anymore. A great, interesting scene between two people. We become too desensitized to it.
Well, I don't know if all of us have, but I think they're definitely, it's like pop music. Pop music is inherently shitty music. Not all of it, but a lot of it.
Except for the song pop music. That's
Right,
actually a good song.
yeah, exactly. But so pop music is, it's short, it's catchy, it's got some part that you can sing along with or hum along with or whatever. It's got some little chorus hook thing in it.
Someone's been jilted.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's the same to some degree with movies that are popular, is that, it's just meant as this little thing that you see and it comes and goes and that's it. It's and then there's other movies that maybe have a bigger impact. I don't know. I really think about the audience. Audiences now, so many people are watching stuff alone, with a laptop or on their phone, or, if you're on a plane, everyone's watching a movie on something. And that is the more normal behavior now than to have the sort of communal experience at a theater where you're all laughing at once or you're all jumping at once. And now it's just you. And I think as a storyteller, now I never think about a theater. I never think about a group of people watching. I always think about one person. I never think about a group. I used to think about groups of people when I was writing, and now I think about one person. Especially writing the book, I definitely think about one person because that is the only way it works. But even with the other stuff, I would say that's true.